Kids in the 1960s were basically feral. No helmets, no seatbelts, no supervision, just pure freedom and danger. They hitchhiked to the public pool. They played with lawn darts that could actually kill you. They drank straight from the garden hose, which was full of lead. And parents just said be home by dark and called it good. Today, half of these things would get your parents arrested for child endangerment. The other half would get Child Protective Services knocking on your door before dinner time. I'm about to show you 15 things that kids did in the 1960s that were completely normal back then, but will be absolutely illegal today. Some of these things will make you laugh, some will make you wonder how any of us survived, and all of them will make you realize just how much the world has changed. Number 15. Hitchhiking. Kids in the 1960s hitchhiked. Not just teenagers. We're talking about 10-year-olds sticking their thumbs out on the side of the road, getting rides from complete strangers to go to the pool, the movies, or just across town. Parents didn't see it as dangerous. It was just how you got around if you lived too far to walk. The only safety advice you got was don't get in vans, and that was the entire stranger danger curriculum. Kids would hitchhike 5 miles each way to get to the public pool. Complete strangers would pick them up, drive them there, and nobody thought twice about it. It was considered normal, friendly, and perfectly safe. Today, if a 10-year-old tried to hitchhike, someone would call the police immediately. The driver who picked them up would be arrested, the parents would face child endangerment charges. It's not just frowned upon, it's literally illegal in many states. But in the 1960s, it was just Tuesday. Number 14. Riding in cars without seatbelts. Seatbelts existed in the 1960s, but nobody used them. Kids would bounce around in the back seat like ping pong balls. Babies sat on mom's lap in the front seat. Toddlers stood up between the front seats. Nobody thought anything of it. Better yet, kids would ride in the back of pickup trucks in the open bed while the truck was moving at highway speeds. Or they'd pile into the way back of a station wagon, facing backwards, watching the cars behind them. Some families had 6 or 7 kids crammed into a car with seatbelts for maybe 2 people. The extras just held on and hoped for the best. Long road trips meant kids sprawled across the back seat, lying down, sleeping without any restraints whatsoever. Today, you'd be pulled over immediately. Not using a car seat for a small child can result in fines up to $500 in most states. Letting kids ride in the bed of a pickup truck? That's illegal in 31 states and could result in child endangerment charges. In the 1960s, if you suggested strapping a kid into a car seat, people would have looked at you like you were crazy. Now, if you don't strap them in, you're the crazy one, and possibly a criminal. Number 13. Playing in the street. Kids in the 1960s played all their games in the middle of the street. Stickball, street hockey, hide and seek, hopscotch drawn in chalk on the asphalt. All of it happened right where cars drove. When a car came, kids would scatter to the sidewalk, let it pass, and then immediately go back to playing in the street. Nobody wore reflective clothing, there were no cones or warning signs. It was just kids and cars sharing the same space. Even more dangerous, kids played marbles in the street and would aim them into the small holes in manhole covers, which meant they were lying down in the road. Parents watched from their windows and didn't intervene unless someone got hurt. Today, this would be considered reckless endangerment. Police would be called. In some neighborhoods, parents could pay fines or even lose custody for allowing their children to play in traffic. Streets are for cars, playgrounds are for kids. That's the law now. But in the 1960s, the street was the playground. And somehow, most of us lived to tell the tale. Number 12. Drinking from the garden hose. This one's going to hit hard because everybody remembers it. The garden hose was how kids stayed hydrated in the 1960s. You'd run outside to play, and then when you got thirsty, you'd just drink straight from whoever's hose was closest. The water was warm, it tasted like rubber, and it was absolutely delicious. Nobody thought twice about it. Bottled water wasn't even a thing yet. Water fountains were everywhere, but kids drank from those too. Here's the problem. Those hoses contained lead. Brass nozzles could leach dangerous amounts of lead into the water. The hoses themselves weren't regulated the way drinking water inside homes was. Kids were literally drinking lead-contaminated water multiple times a day, all summer long. Today we know that lead exposure causes serious developmental problems, learning disabilities, and behavior issues. If parents today let their kids drink from a garden hose, especially an old one, They could face child welfare investigations for knowingly exposing children to lead. The CDC now recommends never drinking from garden hoses. It's not illegal exactly, but it's considered negligent parenting. In the 1960s, it was just called thirsty. Number 11. Playing with lawn darts. Lawn darts, also called jarts, were one of the most popular backyard games of the 1960s. They were basically large, weighted darts with sharp metal points that you'd throw high up into the air, trying to land them in a target ring on the ground. The problem? They were essentially weapons. Those metal tips could and did impale children. Kids would throw them at each other or sometimes would wander into the landing zone and get hit. There were thousands of injuries and multiple deaths. But in the 1960s, they were just considered a fun family game. Kids as young as 5 were throwing these death spikes around the backyard while adults grilled burgers and didn't worry about it. Jarts were finally banned by the Consumer Product Safety Commission in 1988 after a child was killed. Today, possessing or selling the original metal-tipped lawn darts is illegal in the United States and Canada. If you have them, you're supposed to destroy them. Parents who let their kids play with the original jarts today could face serious legal consequences if someone got hurt. But in the 1960s, they were just wholesome family fun. Number 10. BB gun wars. This one's wild. Kids in the 1960s would get BB guns around age 8 or 9, and then they'd have full-on wars with them. Groups of neighborhood kids would split into teams and shoot each other with BB guns in the woods or empty lots. The only rules were, don't aim for faces, wear heavy clothes, and if you get hit, you're out. That's it. No adult supervision, no safety gear, just kids with projectile weapons having elaborate battles all day Saturday. They'd come home with welts and bruises that they'd hide under their shirts. Parents knew it was happening and didn't really care, as long as nobody shot out a window or killed birds that weren't pests. Today, this would result in immediate police intervention. Kids carrying BB guns in public spaces? That could get them shot by police who mistake them for real firearms. Parents allowing unsupervised BB gun wars would face child endangerment charges. Many states now have laws requiring adult supervision for anyone under 16 using a BB gun. Some cities have banned them entirely, but in the 1960s, it was just considered normal childhood play. Number 9. Riding bikes without helmets. Nobody wore helmets in the 1960s. Not for bikes, not for roller skates, not for skateboards. Helmets were just for astronauts and motorcyclists, not for kids. Kids would do wheelies, jump ramps, race down steep hills, and perform all kinds of dangerous tricks without any head protection whatsoever. Crashing and getting hurt was just part of the learning process. You'd pick yourself up, maybe get a band-aid, and get back on the bike. Head injuries were common, but they were treated as normal childhood accidents, not preventable tragedies. The attitude was, if you weren't bleeding or unconscious, you were fine. Today, many states have laws requiring children to wear helmets while biking. Parents can be fined for allowing their kids to ride without helmets. In some places, kids without helmets can be stopped by police and their bikes confiscated until parents pick them up. Bike helmet laws vary by state, but the social pressure is universal. If you let your kid ride without a helmet today, you'd be judged as a negligent parent. In the 1960s, wearing a helmet would have gotten you bullied for being overprotective. Number 8. Playing on dangerous playgrounds. 1960s playgrounds were death traps. Metal slides that got so hot in the summer sun they'd burn your legs. Swings with hard rubber seats that would knock you unconscious if they hit you. Merry-go-rounds that spun so fast kids would fly off. Seesaws with no shock absorption that would slam into the ground. Everything was built on concrete or hard-packed dirt. There was no safety surfacing, no rubber matting, no wood chips. When you fell, and you would fall, you hit the ground hard. The equipment was designed to be as tall and as fast as possible. Monkey bars were 10 feet high with nothing underneath. Slides were metal and steep. Swings could go incredibly high with no safety measures to prevent kids from swinging off or getting hit. Today, playground safety standards are strictly regulated. Equipment must meet specific height requirements, have safety surfacing underneath, and be regularly inspected. Playgrounds that don't meet these standards can result in lawsuits and liability for injuries. Modern playgrounds are so safe they're almost boring, but in the 1960s they were thrilling and occasionally terrifying. The scars on our knees are proof. Number 7. Running behind the DDT truck. This one's particularly horrifying in hindsight. In the 1960s, trucks would drive through neighborhoods spraying DDT and other pesticides to kill mosquitoes. The spray created a thick white fog that smelled oddly sweet. And what did kids do? They ran behind the trucks, playing in the poisonous fog like it was a game. Parents would see them and not think twice about it. Some adults even thought it was cute. Nobody warned anyone that the pesticide sprays were coming. The trucks just rolled through the neighborhoods. Kids chased them, and everyone thought it was perfectly safe. The fog was enticing. It smelled good, and it was fun to run through. We now know that DDT is incredibly toxic. It causes cancer, reproductive problems, and development issues. It was banned in the United States in 1972 after we finally understood how dangerous it was. Today, if a pesticide truck sprayed a neighborhood and kids ran behind it, there would be lawsuits, criminal charges, and national news coverage. Exposing children to toxic chemicals would result in massive liability and possibly prison time. But in the 1960s, it was just a Tuesday in suburbia. Number 6. Trick-or-treating alone after dark. On Halloween in the 1960s, kids as young as 5 or 6 would go trick-or-treating alone or with friends their own age. No adults, just a group of kids wandering through dark neighborhoods, knocking on strangers' doors, taking candy from people they'd never met. Kids would be out until 9 or 10 p.m., covering miles of territory, going into people's houses if invited. Parents didn't walk with them, didn't drive behind them, and didn't even necessarily know which streets they were on. The only rule was be home by bedtime. People would invite kids inside to show off Halloween decorations. Strangers would give out homemade treats. Popcorn balls, caramel apples, cookies, made in their own kitchens. Nobody worried about tampering or poisoning. Today, this would be considered insane. Most communities have designated trick-or-treating hours that end by 8 p.m. Young children are required to have adult supervision in many areas. Leaving kids under 12 unsupervised on Halloween could result in child neglect charges. Homemade treats now automatically thrown away due to safety concerns. Parents inspect all candy for tampering. Some hospitals even offer free x-rays of Halloween candy. The whole experience has been completely transformed by fear. But in the 1960s, it was just Halloween. Number 5. Playing in construction sites. Active construction sites were considered playgrounds in the 1960s. Every neighborhood had at least one half-built house, and kids would spend hours there, climbing scaffolding, jumping between floor joists, playing hide-and-seek in foundation pits. Lumber piles became jungle gyms. Sawdust piles were landing zones. Kids would find tools and use them. Nails were everywhere, and kids would walk through barefoot. The danger was part of the appeal. Parents knew exactly where their kids were. "Oh, they're playing at the construction site," was a perfectly acceptable answer. Nobody considered active construction sites particularly dangerous for children. Today, construction sites are required to be fenced off and secured. Signs warn of danger and threaten legal action for trespassing. Kids caught playing in construction sites would be removed by police, and parents could face fines. Construction companies can be held liable for injuries to children on their sites, even if those children were trespassing. The legal and safety standards have completely changed. But in the 1960s, a construction site was just another place to play. And honestly, it was pretty fun until someone got hurt. Number 4. Smoking cigarettes. Kids experimenting with cigarettes was so common in the 1960s that it was almost a rite of passage. Peer pressure and advertising that glamorized smoking meant that many kids tried cigarettes by age 12 or 13. They'd sneak cigarettes behind school buildings, in tree houses, at the park, anywhere adults weren't looking. Some kids stole cigarettes from their parents. Others bought them from vending machines with no age verification required. Parents who caught their kids smoking might get angry, but it wasn't seen as a serious problem. The attitude was, everyone tries it, and they'll grow out of it. Some parents even smoked with their teenagers, thinking it was better to do it together than have them hide it. Today, selling or providing cigarettes to minors is a crime. It's illegal for anyone under 21 to purchase tobacco products in the United States. Parents who allow their children to smoke can face child endangerment charges. Schools have strict zero-tolerance policies. Being caught with cigarettes can result in suspension, mandatory counseling, and police involvement. Legal and social consequences are severe. But in the 1960s, it was just kids being kids. And those kids are now dealing with the health consequences. Number 3. Drinking tap water anywhere without concern. Kids in the 1960s drank tap water from anywhere. Public water fountains, school fountains, fountains in parks, even fountains in bus stations. Nobody questioned whether the water was safe. Water was water. Bottled water wasn't a thing. The idea of purchasing water would have seemed absurd. If you were thirsty, you found a fountain or a tap, and you drank. Simple. But those public water fountains were often poorly maintained, rarely cleaned, and could be contaminated with all kinds of bacteria. The pipes could leach lead. The water quality varied wildly depending on location. We now know that many public water fountains in the 1960s were health hazards. Lead contamination was widespread. Bacterial contamination was common. Water quality standards were much lower than today. Today, many public water fountains have been removed due to safety and maintenance concerns. Schools test their water for lead. There's widespread skepticism about tap water safety. Parents send kids to school with refillable bottles from home. While drinking tap water isn't illegal, allowing kids to drink from old, poorly maintained public fountains could be considered neglect if it resulted in illness. But in the 1960s, everyone did it, all the time, without a second thought. Number 2. Corporal punishment in schools. Teachers in the 1960s could physically punish students, and they did. Regularly. Rulers smacked against knuckles if you talked out of turn or didn't have your homework. Paddles used on backsides for roughhousing or misbehavior. Being sent to the principal's office often meant getting spanked. Catholic schools were particularly known for strict physical discipline. Nuns with rulers were legendary. Public schools weren't much better. If you misbehaved, you got hit. Parents supported it. If you got in trouble at school, you'd get in trouble at home, was a common saying. Physical punishment was seen as necessary discipline, not abuse. Kids were expected to sit still, be quiet, and follow orders. If they didn't, physical consequences followed. Nobody questioned it. Today, corporal punishment in schools is banned or severely restricted in most states. Teachers who strike students can be fired, arrested, and charged with assault. Parents can sue schools for physical punishment of their children. While 19 states technically still allow corporal punishment in schools, it's rarely used and highly controversial. In most places, it's considered abuse and grounds for losing your teaching license. But in the 1960s, it was just called discipline, and it was considered perfectly normal, even necessary. And finally, the big one. In the 1960s, kids would leave the house after breakfast and not come home until dinner, all day. No cell phones, no tracking devices, no way for their parents to contact them. Parents had no idea where their kids were. You'd yell, "I'm going out," and just leave. You'd ride your bike across town, play in the woods, explore construction sites, go to friends' houses, wander through neighborhoods, and your parents wouldn't know any of it. The only rule was, be home when the streetlights come on. If you got hurt, you'd figure it out. If you got lost, you'd find your way. If you had a problem, you'd solve it yourself or find a friendly adult. There was no way to call home, and nobody expected you to. This level of independence was normal. Parents trusted their kids to handle themselves. Kids were expected to be resourceful, make good decisions, and stay safe on their own. Today, this would be called neglect. Leaving young children unsupervised for hours without any way to contact them could result in Child Protective Services investigating, parents facing charges, and potentially losing custody. Many states have laws about minimum ages for children to be left unsupervised. Some places require parents to know their children's whereabouts at all times. The legal and cultural expectations have completely reversed. But in the 1960s, this was called childhood. And honestly, it was pretty great. And there you have it. 15 things kids did in the 1960s that would be illegal or get your parents arrested today. From hitchhiking to lawn darts, from DDT fog to all-day freedom, childhood was a completely different experience. Were we safer back then? Probably not. Did we survive? Most of us, yeah. Would we let our kids do these things today? Absolutely not. Which one shocked you the most? Drop a comment below. And if you enjoyed this trip back to the days of real freedom and real danger, hit that like button, subscribe to Remember This TV, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and remember, We're reliving the good old days, one memory at a time. See you in the next video.